Final Fantasy X Remastered for the PlayStation 4 is a tale of two experiences, with some really great story moments of boss battles, and with some awful voice acting at times, with cringeworthy story bits, and sometimes boring combat. The story of Final Fantasy X revolves around Titus, a blitzball champion. It's a fictional sports game. Everything is going great until a huge monster, Sin, shows up and wrecks shop. Titus is saved and wakes up 1,000 years into the future, where Sin is still a menace to the world. The story is weird, and there's a lot of spirit stuff, but within it there are some really great moments between the characters. At the same time, there's some stiff dialogue and really awkward, unpleasant moments like the laughing scene. Final Fantasy X is a bit of a mixed bag, but the ending is really good and impactful, and definitely makes getting through the weakest bits worth it. The main character is alright, and there are some really great moments with Titus, and there's also some really dumb parts. And the standout characters are some of your party members like Yuna and Sir Auron. They are much more interesting than Titus, especially Yuna. As for the rest of the ensemble that makes up your party, Wakka and Lulu are decent. Riku is supposed to be the comic relief, but it comes off as really dumb, and Kamari is really unremarkable, and I stopped using him in my party for the last close to half the game, because he wasn't that useful. The villain is decent, and he's a bit of a creeper, but Sin is the real antagonist of the story. Like most JRPGs, the combat is turn-based. It's not the hardest or most in-depth combat, but it does a good enough job. But it does get a bit repetitive in long play sessions at times, especially since you're only able to save at save points, and you lose one battle halfway through a long stretch between them. Some of the enemies are set up in a rock, paper, scissors format to particular characters, so much so that you almost have to use one character against particular enemies. For flying enemies, you have to use Wakka to do substantial damage, and Lulu against certain magic enemies. But overall, the battles range from engaging to decent. The boss battles are really fun and push your team to the limit, with the exception of the final boss. The second to final boss is a bit of a challenge, and for me at least feels like the real final boss of the game. Against some bosses, however, you'll most likely have to grind to progress. There are some minigames, like riding chocobos, and blitzball, which has a bit of depth to it, but it was not something that I wanted to spend more time in. Most likely, the more time you put into it, the more you'll get out of it, but it wasn't something that I could see myself doing more of. There are more secrets to obtain and challenges to do, like getting better weapons and summons, but you can get by without them. Overall, this game is a 3 out of 5 stars. It's got some really great story moments that propelled me through the 50 or so hours of gameplay. There were some boring, grinding parts, awkward story parts, juxtaposed to grueling, engaging boss battles. I recommend it if you like JRPGs and story-driven games with turn-based combat, but definitely after a sale. There is more included in the remaster, a in-game cutscene that bridges the gap between 10 and 10-2. Final Fantasy X-2 doesn't seem like it's been given as much attention in the remastering department compared to 10, but I do need to play more of Final Fantasy X-2 to render a verdict on it. If you like this video, please subscribe to be notified of our newest videos, and if you liked it, hit that like button. Alright, until next time.